Welcome back. Today we join a craftsman as he brings a heavily oxidized axe head back from the brink of scrap. The restoration begins by extracting broken steel nails jammed deep inside the eye. Penetrating oil is applied to break the bond of decades-old rust. The fluid seeps into the microscopic gaps, loosening the seized fasteners. Once the friction is reduced, the remaining debris pulls free. Heavy oxidation requires aggressive material removal. The craftsman works through a progression of abrasive belts, stepping down the grit size to refine the surface. He finishes with fine grit hand sanding, pulling in a single direction to align the scratch pattern. Consistent strokes ensure an even foundation for the final finish. The metal moves to the buffing wheel. Polishing compounds act as microscopic abrasives, cutting away the tiny ridges left by the sandpaper. The craftsman transitions to a softer wheel and a finer white compound, generating friction that micro-melts the steel's surface layer. This process seals the pores of the metal. The result is a brilliant mirror-like finish that actively repels moisture. A blowtorch introduces controlled heat to the polished steel. This thermal treatment is a form of bluing. The high temperature creates a thin, protective layer of magnetite on the surface, fundamentally altering the metal's structure. The steel takes on a dark blue and purple hue, offering robust defense against future oxidation. With the steel restored, the focus shifts to a solid block of oak. The craftsman transfers his custom template onto the dense hardwood, marking the precise contours of the new handle. The bandsaw removes the bulk of the waste material. Oak's tight grain structure makes it an ideal, shock-absorbing choice for striking tools. A handsaw drops a vertical kerf straight down into the top of the handle. This deep slot is engineered to accept a wedge later during assembly. The depth must be perfectly calibrated to allow outward expansion without splitting the wood. Teak oil is brushed generously over the raw oak. Unlike surface varnishes that can crack under impact, penetrating oils soak deep into the cellular structure of the wood. The oil cures from the inside out, hardening the fibers while maintaining the handle's natural flexibility. The assembly relies entirely on mechanical friction. The craftsman seats the tempered axe head, driving it down until the fit is completely flush. To lock it permanently, a tapered mahogany wedge is hammered into the pre-cut slot. As the wedge is driven deeper, it forces the oak outward, pressing tightly against the inside walls of the steel eye. A tight fit here eliminates any chance of the heavy blade flying off during a swing. The excess wood is sawed away, leaving a clean, flush surface. The contrast between the dark mahogany and the lighter oak reveals the strength of the joint. The final edge is established on a wet sharpening stone. The craftsman uses sweeping, circular motions to create a convex bevel rather than a flat one. A convex profile leaves more steel behind the cutting edge, reinforcing the blade against hard impacts. Moving to a finer grit removes the microscopic burr, refining the steel until it easily slices through fabric. Construction for the new edge requires heavy leather. The craftsman traces a precise pattern, marking a wide offset around the blade. Using a fresh utility blade, he slices through the dense hide. A sharp blade is critical here, ensuring clean edges that will burnish well later. A wooden guide block helps navigate the sharp curves without slipping. A separate strip of leather is cut to serve as the welt. This inner spacer is sandwiched between the main layers along the blade path. The welt acts as a physical barrier, preventing the sharp axe edge from eventually slicing through the protective stitching. A thin, even layer of contact adhesive is spread across the mating surfaces. The glue serves primarily as a temporary hold, keeping the layers perfectly aligned while the permanent stitching is prepared. Heavy pressure bonds the welt and the outer panels together securely. A grooving tool scores a channel along the perimeter, allowing the thread to sit flush below the surface where it cannot easily fray. Because the leather stack is exceptionally thick, a drill press is used to plunge the stitching holes. A custom jig ensures the drill bit stays perfectly perpendicular through all 3 layers. The finished sheath receives a heavy coat of a beeswax conditioning blend. Applying direct heat from a hairdryer melts the thick wax, dramatically lowering its viscosity. The liquid wax wicks deep into the open pores of the leather. As it cools and solidifies, it forms a highly durable, waterproof barrier against the elements. Hardware installation completes the closure system. A hand punch removes a clean circle of leather for the brass stud. A small relief cut is made adjacent to the hole, allowing the thick leather flap to stretch slightly as it snaps over the brass retaining head. The threaded backing is screwed down tight, anchoring the fastener. The raw edges of the sheath are vigorously rubbed with a wooden burnishing tool. The rapid friction heats and compresses the loose leather fibers, fusing them into a smooth, hardened edge that will not fray over time. What began as a rusted, seized piece of scrap is now a precision tool again. The heat-treated steel and hand-shaped oak carry the marks of deliberate, careful work. It is not factory perfect, but it is deeply capable. True craftsmanship ensures this axe is ready for decades of heavy work in the woods.